All right.
Welcome to I Am in a Car with Robin Lee Norris.
Thank you, Rob.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, it's fun to be here, and this is just a fun idea.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, because it is a ton of fun. It's like my highlight of my week is driving people around in my car, having an interview.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I, build this into my my office business.
I think it's doable. Especially with the kind of people you work with. But so on that note, maybe we could do a little intro for the audience so they can understand a bit more about where you've come from and what you're up to.
All right. So let's see. I am Wallfight through and through, born and raised here, off to school, came back with a law degree and joined what was then the law firm of Kearns McKinnon as an articling student, then as a young associate, and then finally as a partner. And let me see how many years ago it'd be January 2003, so 14, almost 15 years ago, we became part of national law firm Miller Thompson.
Yeah. Great.
And I'm a partner there, and I have a mixed practice, but a lot of my time now is spent on dealing with family businesses, family farms, moving things generation to generation, and then a lot of wills and estate planning. So that's my business life.
Mm-hmm.
Personal life, marrying the best guy in the world, no offense meant, David Halls.
Hey, we interviewed him. He did a really good job. Did you see his?
Yes.
Yeah.
He and we have no children, but we have 2 cats at the current time, and have nieces and nephews and a lot of friends, kids who call us Auntie Robin and Uncle Halsey mostly.
Halsey.
Uncle Halsey.
Oh, I gotta pull that one out next time I see him. Halsey.
Oh, and he'll answer.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're 2 people who are truly blessed in this community.
Yeah, big time. And our community's blessed to have you both. Seriously.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
but
I know you're.
you get back what you put in.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
And I think we get back more than we put in. It's just cool to be part of it.
Well, and you put in a lot. We're going to get into that in a couple minutes. But
sure.
Coming back to what you were saying a bit before with regard to the work that you're doing, a lot of family was kind of intertwined in all those little caveats. So as I was planning on having you for this lovely ride, I was thinking, what is something unique that Robin could talk to us about? And as much as I know there's a ton, one thing kind of popped out more than most, and that's the idea of keeping your cool in emotionally charged situations. So when it comes to, passing assets or estates along from generation to generation, or selling a family business to younger generations that, siblings are or are not a part of, I get the impression that you've been a part of a lot of emotionally charged situations. Is that fair?
That's absolutely fair and absolutely true. It's funny because people think of family law as being, what happens when people are separating and divorcing and dealing with children and everything. It's ironic because I did start off thinking that's what I was going to practice. I went through law school with a focus. I wanted to do criminal and family law. Got out and decided I did not want to do those 2 things for a variety of reasons.
Right.
And now I find myself doing a form of family law. It may be business law, it may be estate law, will law, estate planning, but it is a form of family law because a lot of what you're doing is trying to get people to find ways to be really honest and make decisions based on that honesty. And you're walking around minefields. It's just, you don't know what you're stepping in next.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And trying to find the way to create for me, it's about creating places that are safe so that you can get to the information. And sometimes you're not going to be able to make everybody happy, lots of times. But in the end, I have to figure out what I can do that will allow people to make the best decisions they can, and recognize that the best decisions they make may not make everybody happy, and still recognize that people are, it's your family. So sometimes the decisions you make are going to have huge implications, and you can't control how other people are going to respond. And if there's one thing that I think I continually use when I'm working with families is to remind them that it's okay to be angry. It is okay to be unhappy, upset, sad, all of those things, as long as you do it in a way that respects that someone else may feel differently.
Right.
And that is that is not easy.
Well, yeah, so how do we do that, Robin? Tell us. No, seriously, like...
Yeah, let me get my little book out. I've got a little book I've created now.
Well, this is something that I think a lot of people are dealing with, and every aspect of, life, whether it's family, making decisions at home, whether it's family at work, whether it's just relationships, and people are emotional, and people have, empathy. There's not... It's pretty fair to say, I think, that there isn't too much empathy in the world.
No, yeah.
Because there never can be, right?
There never can be, and I mean, one of the things is finding the balance between being empathetic, which I think is huge, and I think that that those of us who practice as advisors really and truly need to hear both what's said and not said. You need to watch. You need to look for those cues to figure out what's going on. Because lots of times people don't want to tell you. They either are embarrassed or upset or angry themselves about something, and so telling you about it is for them that's almost a badge of shame. So
right.
They're not. We have avoidance. And I'm as guilty as anybody else. Avoidance is human nature.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel comfortable, so if I ignore it, it will go away. And it doesn't. And we all know it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
But does that stop us from that same kind of behavior the next time? No. And it's letting somebody know that you've heard what they've said. You understand it doesn't feel good lots of times, or they're worried. And once you've done that, I think lots of times people, it's like a deep breath and you suddenly realize, well, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Which is always the case.
Always the case. And then it's, oh, okay, well then what are we going to do about it? That's the next piece is, now that you've talked about it, what can we do? How do you want to handle this? What works in your family? And you know something? There is no one right way for everybody. And I think that's the other thing is that I really have to remember what works in some families is not going to work in another family.
Can you give us some examples of what you mean?
Sure.
Without naming names, of course?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, not allowed to do that. Wouldn't do that.
So, no.
Yeah. What, I'll just think of a couple of situations I've been in the last few weeks. One of them involves a family that doesn't communicate well. Nobody communicates well. The spouses don't communicate well. They don't communicate well with their own parents, their siblings, and with their children. And it shows everywhere.
Right.
And we were having a discussion about how we are going to deal with the assets. They're retired. They sold their business rather than bringing family in because it was easier.
Right, well, they wouldn't have to communicate that way.
Exactly. You didn't have to have any discussions. It was just done. There was no, I don't suppose any of you would like to come into the business, or you're working in the business, and would you like to consider buying out? Or there was never those kinds of discussions, because that would have meant dealing with a whole lot of things below the surface. So now we're going to have, when the two of them pass away, oh my goodness, because I know there's all this stuff.
Right.
So I finally said, they gave me all the instructions for what they want done, and I listened to them, and I finally said, okay, let's fast forward. Two of you are both dead. You're sitting in the room with your kids. They can't see you. They don't know you're there.
Yeah.
What do you hear as they open this will?
Right.
And you can
what a great question.
Just, if you want to see squirm. And I said, you know something? This is your last letter to them.
Yeah.
I said, it's not a letter, but it is. And I said...
It says a lot.
It does.
Right? In terms of priorities, in terms of focus.
So, is this is this the legacy that you're leaving for them, and how is this going to affect their relationships with each other? Because that's and if you're okay with it, it's your choice. It's not my right. It's not my right to say this is the wrong thing to do, although sometimes I do.
Outspoken? No way.
But that's part of it, is just being able to look at people and make them think about what they're doing.
Well, give them that perspective that they weren't necessarily considering. That's
No,
really
and the cues I take when I realize that's what's needed are things like just the body language, the shifting as they're giving me instructions, the tone when they talk about one of the children, or they talk about Richie won't like it when Archie gets that, or just the things, or the way they talk about the people their children are cohabiting or cohabiting with or married to, and you get the sense of where some of that dynamic is, and that's part of trying to read people and find ways to help them get someplace different.
Yeah.
But I had a totally opposite situation. I had people who came in.
So wait, did they change their?
Yeah, actually they did. It's funny.
Yeah.
Because they did not right then and there. They left, and I thought, oh, I've just lost clients. They are really not happy with me. But it's interesting because I got a call a couple of days later saying, we think we need to come back in. We've been talking, and they've been back in, and we are doing things differently.
Whoa.
The other thing that I sometimes say to people, and it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes
Right.
people look at me and say, these are my instructions. Do your job.
Right.
Basically. But one of the interesting things is, I've noticed with people sometimes that if I ask them whether now we've got, I've got all your instructions. After you've signed this, are you going to be comfortable sitting in a room with all of your kids or all of your grandchildren or whoever your beneficiaries are, sitting in a room with all of them at the same time going through this will while you're alive?
Yeah.
And it's not anyone else's business what you've put in your will or how you've
Sure.
set up your estate. It really is yours. I'm not a proponent of. I just want to know, how comfortable are you, and why? If you're not, why? Because that's, again, if you're not comfortable, should be a reason.
Yeah.
There should be something you can identify. Are they going to be upset? Can you handle that? Have they got a right to be upset?
Right.
Have you told them one thing and something else is happening?
And are you okay with that idea? Yeah, that's cool.
And
so then, what was the opposite? The next story.
I had people in who, we're always joking. I did wills for them many, many years ago. I'm not going to say how many. Very early on in my practice.
Sure.
And we're back redoing them, and they are, it's fun because they've been married. They're coming on 50 years. This is their, I guess next year, 2018, is their 50th wedding anniversary. And they're just talking about their kids and their grandkids and what they've got and what what they're going to use before they go. And so they're, in their case, we got talking about what we're going to do now because they are in a position and have income. So they are actually in a position to do some things for their kids and their grandkids now. And again, not everybody is, but they were delighted with the idea that we might do some cash gifts. We might do some things that they could see the grandkids
Enjoy.
Get the pleasure, see their kids get pleasure out of it. So it was an entirely different feel. And so we were being creative. We called the accountant. We're going to have a meeting, all of us, to figure out what they can, because I don't want to leave them short money. But if they can, they're looking at life entirely differently.
Cool.
And so, it's, and everybody has a backstory. Everybody does. And so you can't judge. You can't judge that one is better than another, or their situations are better. They're different. And you just got to help them. In both of them, I got satisfaction because I think in the end what they're doing now and what they're proposing to do fits with who they are and how they feel.
Cool.
So that's what matters.
So why on earth do you take that approach on the risk sometimes of losing a client when you could easily take the order, get the job done, get it finished, go to the cottage, have a glass of wine, and call it a day, and no one would be the wiser. Like, why take that different approach?
Because it would not feel like I'd done my best for them. It would not feel like I'd actually provided them with service. It's hard to explain that. I don't know whether it comes from having an undergrad degree in sociology or what it is.
Or a big heart.
Well, you want their legacy to their family, to their community, how they feel about themselves. You really want that to mean something, and you don't get that by not asking questions. And there are people for whom my style is absolutely wrong, and I accept that. We don't fit with everybody, and there are people out there who would think I ask too many questions. That someone say to me, you've killed off my entire family, because I'm saying, well, what if this person dies?
Right.
And I said, yeah, but I did it really fairly. It's everybody who's dead. But I use a lot of humor, and a lot of it is directed at myself. And my poor darling husband, I don't think he has any idea how often I say, if David died first, this is the kind of thing you got to think about.
David 118 times.
Absolutely, but it killed me too. So
it's fair.
But it's it's just trying to get people to understand that life. Not only does it not come with any guarantees or promises, it is just not. It's not orderly. And I don't think we want it to be. The messy's good. I'm good with messy. But the fact it's not orderly means that part of my job is to get people to look at that. People don't like looking at that. People don't like it when they're young and I ask them what happens. I mean, Rob, you're sitting across from me. So there's been an accident, and it wipes out your entire family. Your new twins, your little guy, you and your wife, you're gone. Where's it going? People will look at me, the baby's a year old, and they're going, yeah, I don't want to answer that question. Yeah. And I get that.
We worked with Mike. We're in good shape.
Oh, then you understand it. I can guarantee you he asked that question. So what happens? And, for some people, that's hitting hard spots. I mean, you get in, someone's lost someone to disease and everything, and you're again, it's those minefields. It's getting people to talk about stuff they don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And all family related areas of law, business, any of those, that's the toughest part. I can tell you what will happen in that business deal. I can tell you what will happen when we have an estate, in terms of this is what the law says, and there's a few things that aren't clear. That's what keeps lawyers employed.
Sure, yeah.
What is it? 4 lawyers and 12 opinions? Yeah. But on the whole, I can
good
tell
lawyers
you
know lawyer jokes.
Absolutely.
That's true.
I can recite them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's the piece you can't anticipate, which is how somebody's going to respond
or react.
Exactly. So that's the unknown. And so the more information I have about those kinds of things can help me say, well, maybe if we did this, it would be better. And that's part of it. If you want to know what the hot buttons are in estate law, family businesses, family cottages, jewelry, not jewelry as in value, but as in sentiment.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that. Someone was just mentioning that a week ago to me.
Yeah, and
someone was losing their mind.
And it's that kind of stuff. And then, who did they appoint? Why is it him and not me?
Especially a cottage.
Exactly.
Because it's the whole family gets to go.
Yeah.
And now one person out of the family's getting it.
And at the same time, if I can't tell you how often people say to me, well, we're gonna transfer the cottage to all 4 people. We'll let them work it out. And I'm sort of going, time out. Your kids are all, tell me about where your kids are. How, if they got young families, older families, financially. Are they all equal? Can they all equally afford to maintain it? And bit by bit, you get the pieces that finally, rarely do I have a family, even with 2, who will be able to share a cottage in a way that is going to leave their family relationships intact.
Crazy.
You know, I wish it were otherwise, but certainly 3 or 4, there's bound to be a shift.
Yeah.
We're human.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many siblings you've got, but, you know, I love my sisters, but, oh my goodness.
I wouldn't own a cottage with mine.
I was just gonna say, you know, we'd be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a cool part of what I do is trying to give people, I think I give them tools. I think I give them the information and the way of thinking about stuff so that they can make the best decisions and the ones that suit them, because in the end it's their family.
Yeah, that's cool. Everybody's different. Right?
They really are.
So if you were to go back 20 years to give yourself, or even when you graduated law school.
That was more than 20 years ago.
22 years ago.
Gee, thanks.
You know, one of those, if I wish I had known then what I know now kind of things.
Yeah. Oh. I'll tell you, when I came out of law school, you know, you do think you know everything. Sort of, you know.
I thought I knew everything in high school.
Well, it gets worse when you get to law school, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's certified I know everything.
Yeah, I've got a piece of paper that says I can do this.
Yeah.
And you know something? It was, it's recognizing all of those life experiences other people, because, I mean, you know, there you are. You know, you're still wet behind the ears, giving people advice on what to do in their lives. So I think that if I'd come out of law school, it probably would have been this. I think if I'd had 3 or 4 years working, not just part-time jobs, but actually out, you know, working full-time doing something else, and then gone back to law school, I think that would have been a really good thing. I think, and not that I didn't learn, and not that I didn't have fabulous people like Bob Berry, you know, telling me, you know, helping me, not telling me sometimes, but helping me make good decisions, and help my clients. But, you know, you don't know what you don't know.
So even in that silver lining, though, so life experience, one thing, go get it. Second one, find a mentor. Because I just heard you mention that a little bit in passing.
That mentor piece is huge. And you don't, I mean, I lucked in. To this day, I'm not quite sure how, but the partners at Kearns McKinnon were amazing. I mean, I was their articling student, and then they asked me to come back at a time when things were economically difficult. And so we used to joke, the 8 guys and me, and it was 8 guys and me. But I lucked in. I had extraordinary mentorship from Arthur Cairns and Chas McKinnon through to Bob Berry. I had, you know, just Peter Gifford was there. And they were all different.
Cool.
And they all had different ways. And I had mentors in the community too, though. You know, mentors aren't necessarily people in your own profession. They're not necessarily people younger than you or older than you. It can be any mix. And I've mentored people, and I've come away from that, you know, a meeting with someone who's asked me to give them a bit of help and thought, whoa, look at what I just learned.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a great mentorship.
That is a fabulous one. So, I mean, I'm really big on that. I'm really big on safe people. Okay? I'm not sure how else to describe it, but somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust, with whom you can be vulnerable.
Right.
That's absolutely huge, and I think we live in a world where that becomes harder and harder. You know, we're afraid to be vulnerable. If I had an observation to make, I think that people are afraid that somehow that makes them appear weak, because vulnerable and weak are not the same.
Well, and actually, quite the opposite is true, right?
Yeah. And it is true. And that's why I'm loving to see people starting to talk more about things that we kept under wraps for so long, you know, everything from mental health through to other things. But it's really figuring that out. And I mean, you know, if you're out there in a leadership role of any sort, and you know, you're always a leader at some point. And people have this idea that you have to have a title that makes you be a leader.
No.
And you don't. I mean, if you're the person who's running with something, you're the leader. And I think that asking for help, and that's one of the toughest things to do. I hate doing that. Here I'm saying, you need to ask for help, and I'm thinking, yeah, and how often are you willing to do that? Because again, you think, yep, I'm strong, I can do this, I don't need anyone's help, but something, we do.
Yeah.
We absolutely do. All of us.
That's cool. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks for doing this.
Oh, it was great.
Awesome.
It was kind of fun driving around.
Yeah, it's great.
On a great day, and we're not blocking the way here for anyone.
Perfect. Okay, bye guys. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Bye. Thanks.